So let's take a look at the best in class. I know we're running a little long here, and as you can see, Scott and I are passionate about this and could talk about the results here for hours here. So I talked about the best in class accounts payable, and at Ardent, just to redefine it again, we've been doing this for the past 12 years at ArdentPartners. Is that best in class is defined as those 20% top respondents with the lowest cost to process an invoice and time to process an invoice. So let's take a look at some of the results that we see here, from this. One of my, favorite slides because it's actionable. And, it's tough to argue some of these points here. You can say, well, automation is going to help. And they say, okay, but how much? So what we have is years and years of data that points to best in class organizations, those with the lowest cost and time to process an invoice being the ones that are achieving the best results within AP. So we saw that best in class organizations are able to process invoices about 4 times less expensively than everybody else out there. So while that $8 and change may not seem like significant, if you extrapolate that over 100 invoices, 1,000 invoices, 10,000 invoices on a monthly basis, you start talking real money here, and something that is a significant improvement. Also, the time to process an invoice. Best in class organizations, once again, are about 35–40% faster in processing an invoice, and can do it from receipt all the way through ready to pay in just over 3 days. And why is that important? Well, it puts you in the driver's seat as an organization. And actually, once an invoice is received and is ready and approved for payment, it becomes an asset to your organization until it's due. And so you can determine what you want to do with that asset. Do you want to pay that invoice early and receive a discount? Do you want to contact your supplier and see if they'll, accept a discount for receiving their money early? So you get in the driver's seat, and you're actually sitting on an asset, not a liability. Because most of us think that, invoices are liabilities, and they are. But once that invoice is approved and ready to pay, you're now, however fast you've approved that, how much window you have left before that invoice is due, now becomes an opportunity for your organization. And so this is something that you can leverage to improve the overall profitability of the organization. We talked about exceptions. Best in class organizations are 2.5 times less likely to have an exception when it comes to an invoice. Now, a point of note here is that 10% exception rate for best in class is still really high. And if you ask most organizations, if 10% is where they want it to be when they're in the best in class category, they would say no. So there's still areas for improvement, across the board here as well. Invoices processed straight through. Scott and I have talked about that a number of times here throughout the presentation. And that is when an invoice is sent by a supplier, received, approved, and ready for payment without any human interaction. You have business rules that are put into place for the receipt, the capture of the information. You determine whether or not that invoice can match against a PO or a goods receipt, or is within certain tolerance levels, etc. And so best-in-class organizations are able to get almost 2/3 of their invoices processed straight through. Why is this important? Because they can spend time doing other more important value-adding activities. There's no benefit to an organization to having to track down missing information. That's time that could be better spent on more strategic activities, understanding how we can improve profitability and performance within the department and the organization. And then, interestingly, the last thing here, which is along the same lines here, is how much time does your AP department spend handling inquiries from suppliers? So, think about it. If you look at the screen here, the average organization spends about 1/4 of their time handling inquiries to AP. That's picking up the phone, where's my payment, tracking down information. This is all time that's very tactical and labor intensive in nature. Think about if you could eliminate that, or a good portion of that. Think about how much time you would capture back to be able to spend on other activities, or maybe able to grow your organization without adding staff here. So best-in-class organizations spend about just under half as much time responding to inquiries as do everybody else. And that's because they've automated the process. They have better procedures and policies in place to help achieve straight-through processing. So when we look at how AP is going to up their game and get to the next level, it's with smarter systems and better tools for analyzing data. This is a market departure from just a few years ago, as we mentioned, when AP was focused primarily on removing tactical tasks from their operations, and the emergence of more strategic thinking bodes extremely well for the AP function going into the future. So as we can see here, we wanted to know how AP is going to get to that next level. And the top two answers by a significant margin were more strategic, data hub of intelligence, access to information. So AP is starting to shift how it's thinking. And as I said, this is a market departure from where we were just a few years ago. And this bodes well because as you start to think more strategic, you're taking more strategic actions, you're looking to eliminate inefficient operations.